Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new series here on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel, a spin off of our ever popular Wednesday show, Morgan Hasn't Seen, which you can, of course, find on the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed on all major podcast platforms. We're delving into discovering some TV on this new series. They're not necessarily regular episodes. These videos will come kind of a little bit as and when as we continue our journeys through these particular TV shows. We'll be spreading them out equally. I'll be discovering shows that I haven't seen. Jeannine will be discovering shows she hasn't seen, because that's one of our favourite things to do here on It's a Wonderful Podcast, is that discovery angle. We like things we've never seen before and learning about those things. And really, what better place to start a new series of videos than with your favourite TV show of all time? I think this is, Jeannine. I'm pretty sure I'm right in calling it that.
Yes, definitely my favorite show of all time. Premiered on January 20th in 1998, and I was so in love with this show that I wrote an entry about it in my diary at the time. A show that when my best friend from junior high, who I watched the show with, moved away, we would get on the phone every Tuesday night and just be on the phone watching the show together. I would record episodes on VHS while they were playing. Um, yeah, just a little bit. I have a whole binder, if you can see my Dawson's Creek
Yes,
binder, with
Jeannine has
pictures and
decoration.
synopses and um, magazine covers with all of the actors. Yeah.
Are we going to be treated to a viewing of said binder today?
Well, yes, and as you said, the show is going to be sporadic. The series is going to be sporadic, so we will be covering different shows, episodes at a time. So, once we get back to more episodes of Dawson's Creek, I plan to read the synopsis of each episode from this book, as I have all of the synopses cataloged in this binder.
Yes.
Yes. So
I think that might just be a Dawson's Creek speciality, because I think this is a big deal. I think this is
it is a huge deal.
this is a good show to start off a series with.
Yes.
And yes, you're right in saying, again, Jeannine, these videos will come a little bit as and when. There's no set date, no set time frame
Yeah.
for these things.
We'll be
We will
bouncing
do them.
around to different shows as we go through.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to delve into all these kind of new little areas of TV, because this is certainly a genre of TV I'm not particularly well viewed on.
Yeah.
The soapy teen dramas of a certain era,
Yeah.
that being the late 90s, which I think were epitomised by something like Dawson's Creek, really.
Yes.
I mean, there's many others that followed in its vein. I think that of a similar kind. You could even say something like I suppose on a little bit more of an intense level, something like a Pretty Little Liars or
Yes, I mean,
something like
around the
that.
same time, we have One Tree Hill. I
One
didn't
Tree
watch I
Hill,
didn't
yeah,
watch One Tree Hill, but, yeah. So we definitely, the WB was, like, had its very big era of, like, all of these teen actors. They had the best ads where we would see all of the actors, the young actors from different shows, like, mingling in some kind of, like, club atmosphere. So you'd see people from Dawson's Creek with people from, like, Buffy, or people from
okay,
from Charmed. The WB was huge in the 90s. There was a show called Popular with Leslie Bibb. So she would be in some of these ads, the Smallville people. So it was very much like
okay.
young, hot Hollywood, Seventh Heaven, like all of these people kind of, yeah, it was a great moment in time. Yeah.
Well, I think this is fair to say that this is, Dawson's Creek is young hot Hollywood. It hit a
Yes.
particular generation of people at a particular
Yeah.
time that I just think worked so well, and is the reason it's, kind of endlessly popular for a certain group of people. I'm not too sure how many people go and start watching it now that didn't maybe at the time,
Yes.
but I don't dismiss Dawson's Creek as kind of even something that's just of its time and should be left in its time. I'm quite excited to watch this, and I'm certainly excited after having watched these first 2 episodes that kind of we are going to get into some detail about in today's video, because that is how this show works. We're going to take
Yes.
them 2 episodes at a time. I think most likely we're going to take each show 2 episodes at a time. Probably
Yeah.
the way
Yeah.
forward, I think. But I don't know if you just want to get straight on into it, or if you want to give a little bit more context to this obsession you do have with Dawson's Creek.
Well, I can read the synopsis before we get into the first episode of the first episode
Let's
from
just show
my
off this binder.
so this is my Dawson's Creek binder.
You've had this since how
Um,
long?
Probably since 99 I made it.
Okay.
So, like, just different articles. It's like full of pictures from like magazine articles and different things. So, yeah.
This binder is near enough 25 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty old. So, just like different articles from magazines. People would like know I was obsessed, so they would give me articles if they found them, pictures and things about their movies and
I mean,
projects.
look at
Yeah.
that.
So
Look at that picture of Joshua Jackson. You
laid up
had
on a
so many
beach.
pictures.
I think I had a lot of him. Yes. Here's my
So many pictures of Joshua Jackson. To which
obviously my favorite.
I would ask why, Jeannine, having watched these first 2 episodes, and look, I've seen Joshua Jackson in other things, other movies, perfectly likable person. What is it about? Is there something? Was it an immediate attraction to Joshua Jackson from the first 2 episodes of
I
Dawson's
mean,
Creek? Because I don't see how that can be possible, because he's quite horrible.
well, I thought they were both cute, just aesthetically attractive. I thought both Dawson and Pacey were attractive, but I thought Joshua Jackson was more attractive. Um, as we go through more episodes, he does things that really make you like fall in love with him. So, um,
Okay.
yes, but the first
So
episode
he's not just being.
it was more aesthetically attractive. I mean, even with that terrible Caesar haircut, I still thought he was cute. Also, it was just
Yeah,
like,
it's not a
that's
great
Charlie,
hair.
because I mean, I thought he was cute as Charlie in the Mighty Ducks films. Um,
Okay.
so I was aware of him and aware of thinking he was cute in something else. So seeing him a little
Well,
bit older
okay
now was
then.
like, okay.
I see. I get
Yes.
it. Okay,
Yes.
fair enough. Episode 1 then, just called Pilot of
Yes.
Dawson's Creek, or as my sign says, Dawson's Vander Creek, because
Yes.
I'm hilarious.
So these are all the synopses that I have of all the episodes going all the way to season 6. So,
The obsession is real.
season 1, episode 1, Pilot. Best friends, Dawson and Joey, have been spending the night together since they were little kids in the quiet town of Capeside. But at 15, this ritual takes on complicated elements that change and intrude in their comfortable relationship. Though Dawson pretends to think about nothing but filmmaking, Joey knows that sexuality is bound to hit him over the head soon. And to her dismay, it does so with force when the blonde and lovely Jen appears next door visiting from New York. Meanwhile, their friend Pacey, who is rather a social outcast, decides to exercise his budding hormones by conducting an improbable flirtation with an older woman who turns out to be his English teacher. The only sexually satisfied people seem to be Dawson's parents, who still vigorously lust for each other, but behind whose passion may lurk an ugly secret.
There you go. A good synopsis, a good written synopsis
Yes.
there. of
Yes.
episode 1 pilot of Dawson's Creek. There's actually quite a lot going on in this
Yes.
first episode.
Yeah.
Although I have several points I would just like to bring up because I think that's how these kind
Okay.
of things are going to go,
Yes. I'm
probably.
curious to hear your thoughts for sure.
Number 1,
Okay.
Pacey, right, being
Mhm.
a womanizer.
Okay. Well, womanizer, I think that term involves having some sort of skill in wooing women.
That's a fair
Um,
point, yes.
so I think it's more meant to be depicted and seen as uh, a 15-year-old with raging hormones, even though which I know is a hard sell considering all of these actors
Okay.
look like they're 40, but
Well, yes, okay, this leans
but they're
into my
meant to
point
be
number
15.
2.
Yes.
Everybody looks at least 10 years older than they're supposed to be.
Yes, I think in reality, they were all around, I think maybe Michelle Williams was 22, 23. Dawson, I think, was the oldest. I think James Vanderbeek was 25, maybe 26. And I think Joshua Jackson was maybe like 24, 25. Katie Holmes, who I think was the only one who was a teenager. She was like 18.
Okay. I
So they were
believe as
all
well that
early, they were all early to mid 20s, 23, 24-ish age. And Katie Holmes was like 18, 19.
was this like was Joshua Jackson and Katie Holmes a couple at this point as well? Was that a
In real life,
thing? Yes.
I don't think I think they dated in real life, but I don't think this early on they dated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my point number 2. Point number 3. I'm just going to keep bringing these up about this
Okay.
first
No, no, I'm
episode, by
excited
the
to
way.
hear it all.
Point number 3. I really hate Dawson. Like, I hate Dawson. Like, he's the worst. Like, he makes
And
me want to
I'm
throw up.
really sad because if you hate Dawson already, he's gonna do even more to make you hate him even more. So
No. I'd say it's not what he's doing.
it's
It's not what he's doing. It's the way he is, Jeannine. It's the way he is.
yes.
He's
I
a
think
vomit-inducing 15-year-old film bro.
Kevin Williamson was trying to impart his love of early filmmaking onto this character, and it just comes off as kind of insufferable.
So
I
very,
can
very
I
insufferable.
can
I
agree
mean,
with that.
look,
A lot of people do not like Dawson. I think James Vanderbeek can like even get why people don't like Dawson.
yeah, this is. But by the way, this is not me being some sort of hater on James Vanderbeek.
No,
I'm a fan of. I'm
we
definitely a
love
fan of
James
James
Vanderbeek.
Vanderbeek. But all of this driveling on about Spielberg and needing to be in this film class in high school and demanding to this teacher that he has to be in this film class. It's my life's dream. It's all I've ever wanted to
Yeah.
do. It makes me want to stick my fingers down my throat and projectile vomit exorcist style all over the room. It's absolutely insufferable.
Okay.
Insufferable is such a
I
good word for it.
I 100% get that. But was there any characters that you did like? Or
I like
were those all your points? Or do you have more points?
I like no, okay. I don't I'm supposed to not like Dawson, so I from a character standpoint, understandably, he's supposed to be whiny and bratty and kind of selfish and all these kind of things, isn't
Yes,
he?
and
So
that's why you
it's
have a character like Joey to call him out, to
yeah,
kind of tell him how
good
privileged he
writing.
is when he's complaining about the things in his life when he has a pretty perfect life compared to her, compared to even Pacey.
Yeah,
Because if you kind of get into the stories of the other 3, Dawson is the most privileged. He has a nice life, he has good parents, all of these things. Of course, we get into an issue with his parents, but for the most part, he doesn't really have any deeper issues. Later with Pacey, we learn his family like treats him like total crap. He's a black sheep of his family. They constantly treat him like a disappointment. So he has no drive to be any more than what he is because his family constantly puts him down. Then we have Jen, who has a very kind of messed up past as well that we'll get into. And then Joey, we actually get to see some of her history. You know, her father's in prison, her mother has died of cancer, and she lives with her sister and her sister's black boyfriend, and her sister's pregnant, and they're, you know, pregnant out of wedlock. So it's very much in the small town. Her family is seen as kind of a scandal, you know, type
Yes.
situation. She's poor,
Even
you know, lives.
though
Yeah.
for the slight bit of time we actually see her sister with her boyfriend, she seems, you know, they seem like a perfectly reasonably nice couple together.
Yes. So, you know, she's not well off. Dawson lives in this big house. His mom's a famous news anchor and locally famous. They have a seemingly good relationship. He has everything he could want for. So, yeah, he's kind of the most privileged of all of them, but kind of complains the most. So I like that we do at least acknowledge that. And we have characters telling him how
Yeah,
privileged he is
uh,
and that he needs to wake up and stop being such a brat and, you know, that
yeah,
kind of thing.
that's what I'm saying. He might be vomiting inducingly hateable, but he's supposed to be that way. So you
Yes.
can't. It's not like a dislike for the way the character is. That's just who the character is,
Yeah.
and you're kind of supposed to be. You're supposed to lean that way towards him. And James Van Der Beek seems to be doing it really well in this
Yeah.
first episode. I feel really sorry for Joey, for Katie Holmes, because not only does she like clearly want better, you know, clearly want Dawson to be okay, even though she's the one who really he should be wanting her to be okay.
Yeah.
And but she's kind of projecting all of her, I suppose, nurturing tendencies onto him when it should just be totally the other way around. She's the one that needs as much help as she can get. She's the one who's looked down on. She's the one who,
Yeah, but it's because she has feelings for him, and she kind of
yeah,
she's also dealing with these repressed feelings because she doesn't wanna ruin the friendship. She doesn't know if he feels the same way about her. It's this whole kind of conversation they have at the beginning about how, you know, they can't really do the same things that they used to do growing up because now they're getting older and sexual thoughts are kind of coming into their minds, and so sleeping in a bed with each other means something completely different at 15 than it did at 10 or whatever. So,
yeah.
um,
And I do like how pretty immediately you get that Kevin
conversation. Yeah.
Williamson-esque maturity, I
Yeah.
suppose, within the conversations you're having. The teen conversations
Yeah.
added to the fact that these teens are 25 at least feel like other Kevin Williamson movies and things like that. They feel of that same
Yeah.
style of actual kind of genuine, kind of smart, introspective at times discussion between characters that are supposed to really be and in reality
Yeah.
would be deeply immature still.
Yeah.
Um and there's immature elements. I think there's certainly immature elements to Dawson, like you see, why he doesn't quite realize how good his life is. There's immaturity to Pacey in terms of just being kind of a horn dog all the time.
Yes.
Even in this first episode, there is immaturity there, but there is a certain, I suppose, classiness to the way they're speaking to each other.
Yes, and Kevin Williamson really had to explain that a lot when the show first came out because a lot of people were giving him flack about, you know, teenagers don't talk like that. That's ridiculous using these like, you know, $10 words. Like it's
Yeah,
kind of yeah, but he always saw that as a compliment to young people that they did have these intelligent thoughts and could speak eloquently about how they feel about things, and they just maybe don't or felt like they had the space to. So in his universe, these teenagers are able to express those things that all teenagers feel, but just kind of don't know how to put into words or just don't really talk about. So he had his teenagers be able to talk about those things. And that was kind of his compliment to young people, that they could speak very eloquently about their feelings at such a young age. So that's how he could always explain when people would give him flack about them talking so big, like,
Yeah, so
like they do.
very, very eloquently.
Yeah.
But I like how we immediately do get that in this pilot
Hmm.
episode, in this first episode. I mean, story-wise, I think you're mainly dealing with Michelle Williams coming in, Jen coming in as the new hot thing in the school,
Yeah.
and Dawson's mind being completely overtaken while Katie Holmes, poor little Katie Holmes, is stood over here going, oh, for
Yes.
God's sake, someone else has come in now, and I don't know why she wants Dawson so much, to be honest with you, but she
Yeah.
seems to.
Yes.
And I just feel very sorry for Katie Holmes. Katie Holmes is always good, I think, at playing someone to feel sorry for. I think it's natural in her rather large eyes that
Yes.
she
I mean, my
has.
whole thing with Katie Holmes is, and Michelle Williams is, I think you'll see over time when we kind of watch more episodes, is that for me, I feel like on this show, Katie Holmes is the best actress. She's an amazing actress on this show. Um, and Michelle Williams is not as good on the show. But in actual film acting, Michelle
Yeah.
Williams is a 10 times better actor than Katie Holmes is on film. So it's just funny to me, Michelle Williams' Oscar nominations under her belt and really great lauded films and performances, whereas Katie Holmes has really done a lot of fluff. I don't think she was very well received in Batman Begins, was kind of her biggest thing at
Yeah.
the time. So yeah, I think her acting just did not translate um to film, but she is really great on this show. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it worked for me in this first episode, definitely. I mean, do I like that an awful lot of the conversation and an awful lot of what's going on in here is about Dawson trying to make a movie for some sort of film festival and him just being constantly obsessed with banging on about Spielberg movies. He's got all these Spielberg posters. What does he say? Every answer to life's problems can be found in a Spielberg movie, which isn't necessarily an incorrect thing to say, but coming from the mouth of Dawson, whatever his last name is,
Leary.
Leary. So I was going to call him Dawson Creek. That would be fun.
Yes, no, Dawson Leary.
It just it does. It makes me want to vomit. But I don't hate the fact that there's a lot of movie discussion going on. I'm fairly used to hearing Kevin Williamson characters
Yeah,
talk about
so
movies a lot.
so there's a lot of fun references to movies and things like that. But it's just a setup for our characters. So we set up this relationship of Dawson and Joey kind of being weary and feeling weird about them getting older, starting school, and how the relationship's going to change. Then we see Dawson filming his movie, so that's where we meet
Yeah.
Pacey and get this kind of fun, contentious relationship between Pacey and Joey.
Yes, they hate each other very
Yeah.
much. They don't like each other at all.
Yeah.
They're not cooperating with the movie because they have to kiss each other, and they don't want to do that.
Yes. Then Jen comes in. Has come from New York. She's living with her grandma next door to Dawson. And Dawson kind of becomes very smitten with Jen. And he starts pursuing kind of this crush to Joey's jealousy, as we can tell. They never outright say it, but of course there's Katie Holmes plays it very well, and they give us a lot of cues and clues that she's jealous, that she does have feelings for Dawson, that she does want to be with him, and she is very
Yeah,
jealous because she is very antagonistic towards Jen.
she
And
is.
yes. So it's a whole thing of Jen like wanting to feel welcome, she can already she senses the vibe right away, because as we get into later episodes, she makes it clear that she knows how Joey feels about Dawson.
Yeah, because there's this really awkward
She
kind
even
of
asks her,
date
yeah,
they
yeah.
supposedly go on to watch. I forget what. Do they even say what movie they're gonna go and watch?
No, I don't think they say.
But they're at the cinema and kind of everybody's there, and that's when your little side plot comes in with Pacey and his English teacher,
Yes.
um, who begins some sort of sordid affair with each other.
Yes, they
Um,
both work at the local video store. She walks in, Pacey's immediately like, "Oh my gosh, who's this gorgeous woman?" They have what he kind of just sees as a flirtation, only for the first day of school, him to show up and she's his English teacher.
which really, I mean, sackable offence there and then, isn't it? Really, you can't be
Okay, well, how do you feel? Do you think she
fooling
was flirting?
around with.
Do you think she was flirting in the video store?
Well, it's tough to say, really, isn't it? It depends how you read the situation. She could have just been asking to rent The Graduate, but when she's being all kind of a little bit, yes, but maybe that's just how the scene was presented to us from Pacey's point of view. I don't know. It's tough to say.
Okay. So, but you could see how Pacey would read into that in some way.
Certainly, I could see how a 15-year-old horn dog could read into that. Yes,
I really am waiting for later episodes because I want you to have a better opinion of the love of
womanizer.
my life, Pacey Winners.
Yes,
He's
the
the
love
best.
of your life, Pacey from Dawson's Creek.
Yes, my first dog, I named
Um,
him Pacey. Um,
of course, why doesn't that surprise? I didn't even know that. Why doesn't that
yes,
surprise me?
my first ever pet. His name was Pacey. Um,
So that story in this first episode, I kind of I I see it as just well, seemingly giving me the wrong impression of Pacey.
yes, but I get where you're coming from, and I get why you would think how you think. And actually, the relationship between him and the English teacher develops in an interesting way as well. So,
Okay,
um,
no, because there's a, I mean, she kisses him towards the end of this first episode, which is actually a sackable offence,
yes, yes.
as that is actually a child.
Yes, I
Now,
mean, it talks about like you were talking about this whole kind of awkward movie date situation.
yeah,
He doesn't want kind of Jen to feel awkward about them going on this movie date. So he has Joey tag along and Pacey because Pacey's there. He knows the teacher's going to a movie, so he wants to go to see the teacher. And Joey's just kind of going also to supervise this relationship because, of her jealousy. And so I like the buildup of the scene where she's looking at Dawson and Jen's hands to see if they're gonna hold hands, and she's looking, and she's not even looking at the screen, she's just looking at their hands to see what happens, and she can sense Dawson's going for it, and just the buildup of that. And then ultimately when he sees Dawson go for her hand, then she starts just being kind of a brat and asking Jen if she's a size queen, if she likes how big guys
yes,
are, because she knows that's going to intimidate Dawson if she kind of brings up, she's asking her if she's a virgin and like all of these really personal, awkward questions to not only kind of make Jen feel unwelcome, but to also intimidate Dawson. Um,
yeah.
yes. So at that point, Dawson kind of pulls her out of the theater and asks her why she's being so rude. And then she kind of has to be real about how he's been ignoring her and how she feels little bit replaced and all of this stuff. So they have a kind of
Perfectly
real.
valid, I think, from the
Yes.
person who comes out of this first episode the best is definitely Joey,
Okay.
as
Fair.
far as my mind is concerned. Now,
Well,
the
what do you feel
second
about Jen?
episode, I mean, Jen in this first episode is just presented as the new
Kind of,
hot thing. You don't
yeah.
really get to know much personally of her.
Yeah.
Does she
Well,
get the line of, is that in the first episode or is this in the second episode? This line of, I'm going to make it really difficult for you not to like me.
oh, I think that's in this episode, um, to Joey.
So I
Um,
like that. I like that because that's just like, I'm here just to be friends. I'm here just to be nice to new people. I just want to meet
yeah.
new people. I'm not
Yes.
here to cause any trouble. So the women definitely come out better than the men.
Yes, and we also allude to kind of her past in New York. We don't really get a lot about that, but we get that she was, in terms of her relationship with her grandmother, which will become really integral to the show and Grams.
Okay.
We call her Grams going forward. Um, is Jen was sent there because of something she did or something that happened in New York. So her grandma is very strict on her based off of that.
Yeah.
And then a kind of a religious thing happens, which I think we get into more in the second episode, I wanna say,
Yes. Yeah,
um,
there's definitely that.
that they realize that Jen is an atheist and her grandmother is very religious, and so it's kind of a point of contention that will kind of plague their relationship for quite a bit, so
I
that's when
mean,
we
should
start
we
getting
move
into.
into the second episode then?
Yeah, so review of pilot of Dawson's Creek.
Overall?
Yes, you're just
But,
overall thoughts of the
but
first episode, watching it as a brand new show, the show that is kind of its era, beloved by me and a lot of
yeah,
people.
I mean, definitely made me want to watch another one, which
Okay,
I obviously did. But, I didn't feel like it was like, oh, I didn't really get much from that. I kind of
because a
felt
lot
like I,
happens.
I got a
Oh,
lot from it. Not only does quite a lot happen story wise, that's never really tends to be my focus anyway. It's do I like kind of the vibe of it almost, isn't it?
yeah.
And yeah, as weirdly, because I don't tend to see myself as very much into soapy teen dramas. Whenever I
Yeah.
do watch something that's a soapy teen drama of any kind, of a movie, of a TV, for some reason I tend to get into it. So maybe I actually secretly am into it. I just don't think I am.
Okay.
So maybe it's that kind of thing. But as far as character setup, I think it was really quite clear, really well written, but that's to be expected.
Yeah.
And certainly, yes, visually of its time, aesthetically of its time, structure wise of its time, you know, speech wise of its time. But we're to expect that as well, because it
Yeah,
would be weird if it
1998.
wasn't. It
Yes.
would be weird
Well,
if it
we
wasn't.
did forget to mention kind of the twist ending of the first episode. So, Dawson is watching his mom on the news, and
Yes, of course.
he jokingly says the way she says her co-anchor's Bob's name, like she says the B's very soft on Bob, that she's probably having an affair with her co-anchor. And Joey's like, "You're ridiculous. Like you see your mom and your dad, they're constantly all over each other. Your dad is like a perfect specimen of a man." John Wesley ship.
I mean,
Love
they
that.
are as well. They're like, they're very. It's a very direct show, I think.
Yeah,
Even from
like
this first episode, like he's not
he
shying away from much, which is
no.
good. Is a good
Yes.
thing.
Yes. So, his parents, yes, are very much, like, all over each other. Dawson walks in on them, like, making out the time and stuff. So, then, yeah, he makes this joke that he thinks his mom is having an affair with her co-anchor, and Joey's telling him he's ridiculous. She leaves for the evening, she gets on her boat, which is also kind of a fun thing about, Dawson saying nothing has changed, nothing has to change, and then she kind of asks him, "Well, can you tell me how many times you walk your dog?" Which, is a very,
It's a
uh
terrible analogy.
right? Like, when, what time of day, and Dawson, like, can't tell her, and so then that's when it's kind of hits him that, like, okay, maybe things are different. And so then as she's leaving, because of because their friendship is so strong, he's able to kind of call out to her that he does it in the morning to Katie Couric. And so then she kind of smiles, and it's a nice little moment, and as she leaves, she sees the mom getting dropped off from work, and she's making out with Bob, the
With
co-anchor.
Bob the co-anchor,
So
yes, of course.
Dawson, made this joke about her having an affair with Bob, and it turns out she actually is really having an affair with Bob, and Dawson doesn't see he's gone in at this point, but Joey has seen. So now
Yeah.
she has the secret that she has to keep from Dawson, and it's kind of this callback of something he jokingly said, and that's how the episode ends. So definitely I love that it ends on this bit of intrigue that really does kind of, aside from maybe the other storylines that we delved into, the characters we delved into, it ends on the bit of a cliffhanger of Joey witnessing this thing, and now you really want to go into the next episode. So
Yeah. You do.
yes.
You do. I can't disagree with that at all. Let's go into this next episode
Yes.
then.
Well,
Unless you
I mean,
did want to do
well,
a quick little something.
you want to know how I know I wanted to go into the next episode?
Yes, please.
Because I wrote an entry in my diary that I had bought at a book fair. And I wrote a diary entry dated the day the show premiered, talking about Dawson's Creek, and I put it in this binder.
The day this, by the way, is a piece of. I think this is a museum piece. This really,
Yes.
isn't it? This
Yes.
is
This
from the exact day. A
yes.
Dawson's Creek
They're
museum
dated
piece.
1/20/1998, the day the show premiered. So I mean, if you want me to read some excerpts of my thoughts of the first episode of Dawson's Creek.
Yes, this is incredible.
Okay. Dear Diary, I watched this great show today called Dawson's Creek. It has these really cute guys in it. One was in an episode of Clarissa Explains It All, which James Vanderbeek was in an episode. That's when I first saw him. And Angus, this 90s movie where he was the bully in that movie. And the other was in Mighty Ducks. So this was before I really took names into memory. I'll get their names next Tuesday. Well, it's about this guy Dawson and his best friend, this girl Joey. Since they were little, it's very faded. She's worried that she's getting older and they can't do things they did when they were little. This new girl's in their grade, 10th grade, I put in parentheses, comes and Dawson likes her and Joey gets jealous. Anyway, his friend, I don't remember his name, but he likes this lady. And then when school gets back in, he finds out she's his teacher. He finds out she's going to the movies. So he sits next to her and her date comes back. So he gets up and his popcorn spills on this guy behind him. So the guy gets mad and punches him and he gets a black eye. And he's walking home when he sees the teacher and she asks him to stop so she can see his black eye. He's mad at her because at the video store, she flirted with him. I'm trying to read my really bad handwriting. And she stares at him and all of a sudden she kissed him. And he was surprised. And then she walks away. Dawson was watching his mom on the news, and he said she's having an affair with her co-anchor, this person, Bob. But Joey didn't believe him. One
Do you know
day
what I
when
love
Joey
most about this? It's all this guy, this girl, such a body, this person, Bob.
Yes.
The writing structure is
so
unmatched.
bad. Yes. One day when Joey is leaving Dawson's house, she sees Dawson's mom kissing Bob. I love this show and I can't wait until next Tuesday.
Well, I mean, immediate fondness for Dawson's Creek.
Yes, yes.
you,
I
Jeannine.
literally wrote that right after watching the show. Okay, so I think we can.
Stunning.
I think.
Yes, dip our toes slightly
Episode
into episode 2 called Dance.
Dance. So episode 2, Dance. As Dawson struggles to complete his film by the festival deadline, he decides to mix business with pleasure by casting Jen, with whom he now has a budding romance. This continues to irritate Joey, for reasons she won't truly admit, even to herself. Dawson soon finds he has some competition in Cliff, Scott Foley's character, an upperclassman who's not as enlightened but is handsome and popular for his football prowess, and is stunned when Jen accepts Cliff's invitation to the dance. Although not one to attend dances himself, Dawson now feels compelled to rush in and make an utter fool of himself. Pacey, meanwhile, moves forward with increasing confidence in his secret quest for romance with his teacher.
Okay, well, there we go. Really, I suppose we've gone over kind of general thoughts now, haven't we? So this is just really kind of where, or my thoughts on where we've gone since the last episode.
Yes.
Pacey, stop trying to pursue this teacher because illegal.
Yes.
Actually illegal. Just
But she
stop
kissed
it now.
him. She kissed
did.
him.
No
So
wonder. Well,
she,
it's no wonder he's confused. He's 15.
yeah,
He doesn't know what's going on. But the point is, no more of this, please, for God's sake.
yes.
Number 2, I really like now how it's made more clear about Jen and her grandmother,
Yes.
because you have a couple of interactions, I think, a couple of conversations when the grandma's trying to get her to say a prayer
Or
or
go
go
to
to
church with her,
church or
and
something like
she's
this,
like,
and
"I
she's just nodding
respectfully,"
to it.
yeah, and she's trying to be respectful as possible,
Yeah,
like, "Grams, I don't agree with that. I will respect your faith if you respect my lack of faith, that's it." And her grandma's just very stubborn with her about that. And really,
but there's two stubborn sides
yes,
fighting against each other at that point.
yes,
It's not violent, it's not vicious, it's not anything like that, but it's just two heads butting together.
yes, and she's
But
very much,
the fact we get that adds more to Jen's character. I understand Jen more now as a
yes,
character than I
and
did
we
from just the quite archetypical impression we
hot
got
girl
from
coming
that
into
first
town.
episode.
Yes, and we also get a bit of Grams maybe being slightly bigoted about things because of her religious,
Definitely.
yes, that she's very much like she's very watchful on Jen spending time with Dawson, with a boy in general, which alludes to kind of maybe Jen's past in New York, having a very fast lifestyle. Um Also the fact that, like, she doesn't understand his relationship with Joey going in and out of his window, so she finds that to be an inappropriate thing, and also kind of brings up Joey's background as well to be inappropriate, father in prison, sister with a black man,
Yeah.
unwed, pregnant kind of thing. So Grams kind of shows her nature a little bit as well. Kind of we get a little bit more with her and how that's going to inform her relationship with the rest of these kids and Jen in particular at the moment. So
Is there something to read into that Joey lives up the creek? Because obviously this is like a creek. It's coastal. We're on
yes.
there's water everywhere. There's boats.
Yeah.
But obviously there's a
Cape side.
pretty famous saying about going up a creek.
Without a
You're
paddle.
up a certain creek without a paddle,
Yes.
which means you're not in a very good way. So is there
Yes.
something to be said about the fact that Joey lives up the creek?
Yes, I think, like, up the creek for her is, like, wrong side of the tracks, because she brings it
Yes.
up a lot, how she's the girl from up the creek who, lives in a poorhouse with an unwed sister who's black boyfriend, da 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 da, father's in prison, mother died of cancer, woe is me, poor, da 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 da. So she kind of is very much sarcastic and, brings up her life situation about living up the creek. So I definitely think she uses that metaphor in that kind of wrong side of the tracks
Yeah.
kind of metaphor.
I got that.
Yeah.
I assumed it was that.
Because I think she even says the line "girl from the wrong side of the creek" or something like that. She says something
Okay.
to that effect. Um, so yeah, I mean, Dawson had this whole plan to rent these dance-based movies and stay in and watch the dance with Jen, but she actually got asked to the dance by Scott Foley's recurring character Cliff Elliott, who will appear later in Kevin Williams in the Scream franchise. Funnily enough, the movie not written by Kevin Williamson. But
Yeah, weirdly.
yeah. Which is a fun thing that ends up happening, that his episode an episode with Cliff does appear in Scream 5, which is a fun little thing. So we have him appearing in Scream 5. But
Okay.
Yes, we'll get to that. It's a fun, like, scream scare episode. Um, but yeah, so then we introduce Cliff as this, much more manly competition to, Dawson's youthful immaturity, and
Really, I've just got to say that I don't think there's much wrong with Scott Foley. He seems perfectly reasonable. Yes, okay, he's presented as your football player type.
yes, I mean,
He's a
even
little bit simple, but nice
yes.
enough.
Yes, and even in the film class,
Way better than Dawson.
because he's an upperclassman, he's actually in the film class, and he's talking about the movie that he's making, Helmets of Glory, and he's talking about it's like a life story of him winning this big game, so obviously he's
Yeah.
he's describing the plot of this movie while Dawson is just groaning in the background like, "Oh,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
not
I'd like to point
cinematic
out as
enough."
well, we haven't even said Dawson does manage to weasel himself into this film
He's
class
able
in a
to
very
convince
weaselly way.
Yes, he's able to convince the teacher to have him use that class as a study hall, so he can't participate in the class, he's not officially in the class, he just gets to use that class in the study hall, sit and observe. So that's it. Yeah.
Weasel. Because he's judging other people's movie ideas. And yes, okay, it sounds like a stupid idea of a movie that Scott Foley's come up with. It does, yes, a little bit self-important and all these kind of things. But you can imagine the kind of movie. And yes, I know we see what movie Dawson's making. It's some sort of weird
Creature from the
swamp
Black
thing
Lagoon,
kind of
Swamp
thing.
Thing. Yes.
But you can imagine they're probably very self-important because he thinks so highly of himself. And really, I just think Dawson needs to learn some humility. And to be honest, I think Scott Foley probably needs to learn some humility as well, even though he does come across a lot nicer than Dawson. And I think Jen should end up with him instead.
Yeah, so we do get some other occasions where where Jen is spending time with Cliff and Dawson is getting kind of irrationally jealous.
Oh,
Um,
surprise, surprise. Does he
yes.
start moaning and whinging and crying and
Well, I mean,
moping
we see a little
and
bit of that
making
in this
another
episode where he's being
movie?
completely obnoxious. He uses Joey yet again to come with him to this dance. And they actually have this like and I love the moment with her and her sister as well when, she's about to leave. And I think this was for the movie actually. Um, with her sister giving her lipstick and she goes. I think this was in episode 1 though that I'm thinking of. So, but yeah, her having this kind of dance moment with Dawson and kind of
Yeah.
being happy about it, only for him to then be like, "Oh, I'm looking for Jen," and kind of killing the momentum of this, like, nice moment that she's having with him. So it's just another dig in these budding feelings she's having for him, um, in him just having this irrational, intense, crush on Jen, which he displays in an embarrassing state when he tries to when Joey calls him out, like, for using her and bringing her here, and she ends up ditching him, and then he goes back to the dance to, like, tell Cliff to step aside, "Jen is my woman," kind of
Yes,
thing.
and he makes a
So
complete
embarrassing.
moron of himself.
Yes, so embarrassing.
Rightfully so, because he is a moron, and he should be made to look like a moron.
Yes.
Um, Pacey's unfortunately on the sideline a little bit. I mean, he comes back into scenes when they're making this movie for this festival, and
Yes, but
he's
he's
still
at the dance.
refusing to cooperate with Joey.
Yes, and he's at the dance trying to talk to Miss Jacobs, the teacher,
It's just
and
all
asking
about
her to
him and the
dance.
teacher. He
Yes,
needs to
and she's
relax.
like, "No, like, I can't dance with you here at the school dance," like so yes, he's at the dance trying to pursue the teacher. Dawson's trying to pull Jen away from Cliff. We get some really great '90s dancing, some, Soundgarden, and it's it's great. We get some great music in this episode. Um, yeah, Dawson's Creek soundtracks are actually pretty legit though, but, yes,
Oh, no doubt. I have no doubt about
so it's
that.
to the point where Dawson and Cliff end up kind of fighting over Jen to where she just is like, "You know what? I'm leaving," and she walks away.
And
Um,
I would like to point out as well that Jen's been in this school for approximately a week.
yes, and she's kind of the hot new toy in the situation where everybody, like, thinks she's cute and wants to talk to her, And,
So we're now starting fights over her, and for some reason we're deeply,
yes.
deeply obsessed with her, having known her for virtually no time at all.
Yes, but even to the other end, Joey being very antagonistic towards her without really even knowing her. So I think it's really a nice scene as well when they're working on the movie and, they decide to make a death scene with
Yes,
Joey, so they can kill her off and have her cousin come in, played by Jen, um, so that she doesn't have to kiss Pacey. So the scene where she gets killed, she gets covered with fake blood. And so then when she goes to change, like Jen goes to like help her get changed and like compliments her body. Because
that's the
obviously,
scene of the
yes, Joey is really awkward. Joey is kind of set up to be this tomboy. And so when Jen is like complimenting her body and telling her how beautiful she is,
again, very
you know,
directly, like
yes.
it's just, I think.
Yes.
I think I'm just used to, perhaps, I mean, I'm not used to it because I don't exactly watch
Not
these
just kind of
shows,
things like
but
this, but
no, I mean like these shows from today,
yeah.
of a similar type. They are just nowhere near as direct in terms of, I think, language that
Yeah.
even these first 2 episodes of Dawson's Creek were, just in terms of just frankly talking about things that happen.
Yeah.
You know, growing up things, but in terms of a sexual sense, in terms of a kind of interpersonal relationship sense, like this scene, just really directly complimenting Joey's breasts.
Yes,
Like, you
and
can just
Joey
do that in a
yeah.
show from '98, but if you would do that now, you get whinging and complaining from people who are subscribed to your streaming service, who don't want such sordid things being talked about,
Yes, but it's a
because
real thing. Like,
movies and
Jen is a l
TV are
yeah.
prudish, and they
Yes, and
shouldn't be. They should be like Dawson's Creek.
yes, and Jen is a lot more confident than Joey, so the fact that she's complimenting her and Joey's being very self-deprecating, like, "Oh, no, I don't. I'm not," especially because Dawson doesn't see her that way either. She very much is
Yeah,
like, "No, I don't have a good body. Like, what are you talking about? You're crazy." And she's like, "No,
I, I,
like, you're beautiful." And
I
and
just
so it's
like
a nice
that we
moment
have
between
that. I like
yes,
that
a
we
nice
have
moment of honesty between these 2 women. Jen really trying to show that she's a good person to Joey because she sees Joey being very contentious with her. Um, Also, that earlier that day, they are making I think Dawson makes, like, this fake head of Joey's. They can use it in the
Yeah,
scene. And he is really starting to develop feelings for Jen. He wants to kiss her. And so he has his father kind of show him and explain to him how to kiss. And so it's a really kind of nice moment between him and his dad. And
but it's
he uses the Joey's head to do that. And Joey's in the balcony, like of the house, because she can come through the window and she sees him downstairs kissing this head of her. And when he kisses the head, she like closes her eyes and kind of imagines it's her. And so it's like this really sweet moment of her kind of expressing her feelings and him having this moment with his dad and like growing up. It's very much a nicely encompassed scene about growing up and these kids really having those conversations and being very open about these things that I think Kevin Williamson knows that kids think and feel but don't talk about, but these kids
yeah.
do.
And maybe all of these things we're saying about the way these things are written, the directness of the way these
Yeah.
things are written, maybe all these things are just a Kevin Williamson thing. Maybe all
Yeah.
things weren't like this.
Yes.
Maybe it is just a Kevin Williamson thing, and if so, more credit to that. You do get as well in this second one the development of this kind of Dawson's mother's affair with Bob,
Yes. Yes.
because Joey ends up finding out. Of course, we know, but Joey ends up
Ends up making
telling
the mother
the
that she
mum
knows. Yes,
that she
she
knows.
alludes to it. She hears her on the phone in the closet making kissing noises and stuff and talking to Bob, and then she startles her when she's coming out,
Yeah,
and she kind of talks to her about, Dawson's a really good son and you have a really great husband, like, you wouldn't want anything to mess that up. Like, she kind of alludes to the fact that she knows and kind of tries to talk her out of continuing this affair without, saying it directly. So the
yeah.
mom knows that she knows now. So she's hoping that she's put that on her to stop. So that's kind
Yeah,
of where
so
we leave that.
where that goes, we don't know at this point.
Yeah.
Or you know, obviously, I don't know at this point.
Yeah.
I just think again, this second episode just has it's a really good development and a really good kind of subtle development, I suppose is the right
Flow.
way of
Yeah.
putting it, of what we got in the first one, and just giving us a little bit more about everyone, giving us a touch of continuation with character stories, but way more knowledge about who these people are, because
Yeah.
we're still not fully understanding of who everybody is and what
Yeah.
everybody means to everybody else, and all these kind of very in-depth, very detailed things that I'm sure we will get to. But you
Yes.
just need to use that gradual build up, and it's doing that at a really, really nice pace, really well kind of, like I said, I like the writing style of it. I like the language style of it, the frankness of it,
Yeah.
and it's that kind of openness, but the contention always comes through things going unspoken, things going unsaid.
Yeah.
And, like this situation we had with kissing the fake Joey head. Well, it's not actually him wanting to kiss Joey. Joey just thinks it might be him wanting to kiss
Yeah.
her
And
now
she's like
because he's kissing
imagining
the
it.
fake
Yeah.
Joey head, but nobody ever says anything to anybody about it.
Yeah. But
So
even in
it's
the
all
last
in people's
episode,
minds.
yeah, even the last episode with the lipstick situation, her sister gives her this lipstick, she wears it. And then when they have this conversation at the end of the episode about things really being changed, Dawson admits, like, I remember seeing you wearing the lipstick and thinking you looked pretty, but that's all it was. So he can say it that far. And then she admits, when I saw you go for her hand, when I saw you with her, like, I didn't want you to hold her hand, not because I wanted to hold your hand, but just because, I just didn't want her holding your hand. So
Yeah.
they're able to kind of be honest with each other to a point, about kind of these developing kind of hormones and things that are happening with them. But the episode ends in a really kind of interesting way with at the end of the dance, Dawson makes this grandstand against Cliff. Jen is fed up. She walks out. He sees her kind of by the oceans, the seaside, whatever, and goes to talk to her and kind of apologize. And Jen does admit, yes, like, I do like you. I am interested, Dawson, but I want to take this really slow. And,
Yeah.
I think the things that they allude to about Jen, there's reasons why she wants to take this really slow with Dawson. But Dawson being 15 and impatient, like, he's really not getting that. And like he'll say he gets it kind of going forward, but he really gets kind of impatient, which
Well,
just
that's
makes you
understandable. I can
yeah.
believe that.
So she tells him, like, he's telling her he wants to kiss her. She's like, we're not ready for that. And then they have this nice dance by the seaside, and
It's
they're
him and Jen and Pacey and the teacher they need to just relax about the whole
yes,
situation.
exactly. So he's dancing with Jen. She admits that she likes him, but she wants to take it slow. And then the really sad shot of Joey watching them dance. And even the song they're playing, like the You Don't Know Me song, it's very much about like a best friend being in love with somebody, but he doesn't notice her. You Don't Know Me is the song. Like,
I'll say it again. Katie Holmes comes off best because she comes off as the person we are rooting for the most, I think.
yes. So we're looking on to her watching Dawson and Jen dance, and she's obviously feeling very jealous and sad. And even like the lyrics of the song play into like her feelings, which fits so perfectly. And we end the episode with Joey or with Jen and Dawson having this dance, and
Yeah.
her kind of telling him she wants to take it slow with him. And I think Joey and Dawson also know that Pacey's interested in someone, but they still don't know who it is. So there's this secret
Yes,
build
they
of his
don't, do
relationship
they?
with the teacher.
He
So
has been very on his own in his story with the teacher.
pursuit.
He's not
Yes.
involved anybody else.
No.
And again, what I will say about this second episode is that it made me want to go and watch the next one, which I obviously didn't do
Yes.
because we're not doing it yet.
Yes.
But it made me want to. It made me want to
Yay.
continue. I can only have positive things to say in that regard from watching these first 2 episodes of Dawson's Creek, Jeannine, even though Dawson is a detestable
Right?
person.
Even though your title character is kind of insufferable, you're still into it. So
I would prefer if it was Dawson's Vandercreek and he was actually more like James Vanderbeek himself.
yes,
He seems
James
to be a
Vanderbeek is
lovely
great.
person.
He is great. So yes, those were the first 2 episodes of Dawson's Creek for our new little
Yes.
spin-off series on our YouTube channel here. Morgan hasn't seen TV, which we will kind of switch around to Jeannine hasn't seen TV when we talk some things
certainly
I
will.
haven't seen. But We Haven't Seen TV is our new little
Yes.
series here on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. It will be a sporadic series, so please make sure that the bell is clicked so you'll know the next time we
Yes.
have an episode up. So these are going to be fun little episodes, just talking TV, because we don't really get to do that much. And introducing us to some new shows. Discovery, as you said, is something we love here at It's a Wonderful Podcast. So I'm so excited you enjoyed the first 2 episodes of Dawson's Creek. I can't wait to delve into more. I can't wait to delve into other shows you haven't seen, other shows I haven't seen. It's going to be really fun. So I'm excited for this new series.
So am I. It's very, very exciting. You're particularly excited for Dawson's Creek. Naturally, Jeannine.
I think I showed off my nerddom. I have my nice pops.
I think you did.
That you got me, my Dawson and my Pacey Funko Pops. I need to get the ladies now.
Did I get you that Dawson one as well?
You did.
I don't remember getting you the Dawson one. I do remember getting you the Pacey one.
Yes.
But yes, there we go. There we go. That is going to do it for this video. We have links in the description to all those things we've had scrolling down at the bottom the entire episode long. The social media, Patreon, if you would like to support us there. As Jeannine has said several times, subscribe, ding the notification bell up there for more of these to come and all the other fun stuff we have on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. There is only one thing left to do. We usually, on the shows, count down and shout a big bye. I imagine we'll be doing that here too, Jeannine.
Yes.
Let's go ahead.
3, 2, 1.
Bye.
Bye.